What if I told you there was a secret root found in the middle of the Amazon that guarantees to get you sober no matter what you do, even if you don't want to get sober? Well, today what we're going to be doing is talking about sobriety and alcoholism home remedies. This was something I was obsessed with before I got sober back in 2012, 2013, and 2014, where I literally scoured the internet day and night looking for the magic cure. And you know what? There was no shortage. There was a cure over here that was going to make me better. There was a root over here from the jungle that was going to fix my life. There was an ancient tree found in the desert that was guaranteed to stop me from desiring to drink. And I tried them. Hook, line, and sinker, I spent $70 on this famous root that I found out later grows on every tree in Alabama. Right? If you ever drive through Alabama, you see this green stuff that takes over the tree. It's called kudzu. And they said, hey, the kudzu root is going to help you not want to drink anymore. And I took that. I went out and I bought the kudzu root for $80 for a little jar of this stuff. I probably would have saved money if I just ripped it off the trees in Alabama. And I took it. And instantly, when I took it, I felt nothing. Except a sour taste in my mouth because the stuff tasted like crap. But I still wanted to drink to drown out that taste and eventually get drunk. And I found out that it didn't work for me. Now, at the outset, I want to tell you, on this call, Terry and I are not doctors. We're not trained physicians. We're not trained addiction counselors. We're just two guys who got sober under crazy circumstances after trying what seemed to be damn near every solution to get sober. And nothing seemed to work. I tried kudzu, I tried meetings, I tried all kinds of things, and nothing seemed to work. Everything that promised to make me want to stop drinking made me want to drink even more. I even went to meetings as a drunk, sometimes not, and all I wanted to do after the meetings was go to the bar. Like, I was like, okay, I just sat around and listened to people talk about alcohol for an hour. What do I want to do? I want to go drink alcohol. And I found out that the real reason that this was happening wasn't because of some ancient root, although there are things that are helpful. There are things that help. But I believe, in my non-medically educated opinion, that the truth about sobriety has to do with dealing with chemical dependency and what's going on in your mind. Because when I went out there and I thought that this would work or I thought that would work, I still was battling chemical dependency, which was stronger than my willpower. No matter what I did, nothing seemed to work because alcohol had taken control of my willpower. And that was the key to understanding what alcohol does to you. And when you look at these remedies, and when you look at these things that promise to help you, or these magic courses that are going to change you forever, we have to take that with a grain of salt and remember that alcohol is a serious problem. If you're an alcoholic, the stuff that alcohol does to your mind and body can be deadly. This is something that some internet cure is not going to fix. This is something where if you get bad advice and you try to detox on your own at home without a doctor, you might not be here tomorrow. This is something that's serious. And when we look at this, unfortunately, in my other business, I am in the business, well, not unfortunately, I like my other business, but in my other business, I see a lot of crap. I see a lot of people pitching a lot of things that are not good. Magic cure for this, magic secret for this. And it all leads people to the same place of disgust, distrust, and not really being able to get where they want to be. And if you're watching this, I'm guessing you probably want to get sober, and you might be like me and Terry 7 or 8 years ago, where we wanted to get sober, but we didn't know what to do. And I would have tried anything. If they said, do this, stand on your head all day, I probably would have done it. Probably not a good idea when you're drinking, and it doesn't really help, but I would have done it. I would have done just about anything, except give up drinking. That's the one thing I wouldn't do to get sober. So, welcome to Talk Sober. I'm Marcus, this is Terry, and today we're going to talk about the dangers of at-home remedies for alcohol. We're going to talk about what it really takes to get sober, what kind of mindset shifts you need to have, and what you need to understand about what alcohol is doing to you. This is the key. So, Terry, how are you doing, and what's your thoughts on this topic?
I'm doing all right. Good to see you, Marcus. Good to see everybody on here. Yeah, before I got sober, I tried all sorts of different things to get sober. I did not try the kudzu route, and I didn't do a lot of other of those home remedy things that they suggest taking, or magic pills, or anything like that. I didn't try any of that. I was like you. I would have done whatever it was going to take, except I didn't want to stop drinking. That was the key. And that's why I kept drinking. And, I tried to willpower it. Willpower didn't work. Alcohol had my mind. That was the problem here, is that alcohol, my craving for alcohol, the obsession, the compulsion, they were way more powerful than my will and my want to quit. And it came down to that eventually, where my wanting to stop and do whatever it was going to take. It took until then before I was able to quit. And it was a tough road. And I see some of you have had a difficult time getting there, and me too. It took me years of wanting to stop before I was able to finally stop for good, at least up until now. And it's a tough road. And what I finally had to do is I just finally had to surrender and start to do whatever it takes. Listen to the professionals, get the professional help, and get myself through those withdrawals and the detox, and then that early recovery, which can be just as difficult as the detox. But the most important thing is getting that professional help right in the beginning. I mean, withdrawal and detox, they literally almost killed me. I was in a coma for 2 weeks, because not from alcohol poisoning, from withdrawal. So this is dangerous stuff. You can't mess with it. You absolutely can't mess with it. I was looking around a little bit earlier on some of these home remedies, and there's all these things on Google that are talking about, safely detox at home. Come on, no way. There's just no way to do it. There were some that suggested reducing the amount slowly that you drink. You ever tried to do that? If you're an alcoholic, have you ever tried to just reduce slowly until the point that you've completely stopped? There was no reducing for me. Yeah, I could reduce for a couple of days, but right back to where I started from. That's what I would do. And it's a difficult thing. Getting the professional help was the key for me, definitely.
Absolutely. And I think, too, what a lot of us miss is the fact that what we consume is not a normal amount. I remember I gradually got up to where I was, I'm probably 135, 137 pounds soaking wet. And I was drinking as much as, I drank 400-pound people under the table because I had this tolerance. And, I thought it was cool. And I thought, oh, hey, I'm tough. I've got this tolerance. I can handle my liquor or whatever it was. And I didn't realize that the amount that I was consuming was literally deadly. And I remember the day that I was taken out of my house in handcuffs because I was a threat to myself. I was pretty much crazy, and I was taken to a mental hospital. And I remember being taken out, and I had fallen asleep on the couch, and I was, mumbling things about my life and what I didn't want and what I did want, and, threats and things like that to myself. And my wife had called it in to an addiction counselor that I was seeing at the time over the telephone. It was like a online recovery thing. And she was like, look, you need to call the cops. I'm going to do it for you. So stay on the line. We're calling the cops. And they showed up, and I hadn't drank for maybe 3 hours by the time they took my blood alcohol at the hospital. And I was like a 0.3 something, which is, you're like right there. And I hadn't drank for a while. I was coherent enough to, say, hey, I'm not going to be in the mental hospital for the night. I don't want handcuffs off me the entire time or on me the entire time. I was coherent enough to get these people to comply with what I wanted. And I was still at a level that I needed to be in the hospital. Where I was, I needed to be because, you look at it, and if I was just a normal person who drank a glass of wine once a week and I shot up to a 0.3 something percent, I'd be in the hospital. It's just because I didn't recognize the symptoms because I was living them. right? It's like when my brother was on all kinds of opioids and all kinds of this stuff. He didn't know what was going on with him. Like you were like, dude, you just literally fall asleep and fall out of your chair. You literally do. And he was like, no, I don't. I don't do that. I'm fine. I'm a functioning addict. And this idea of functioning, we are not functioning. Like that's a myth. High functioning alcoholic. You're not a high functioning alcoholic. You're just an alcoholic. And when we understand that, I think for me, and Terry, I'll let you chime in on this because I think this is an important topic. I think for me, when I looked at home remedies for alcohol and I tried to understand things that would help, what I was looking for was everything but the real solution. And the real solution is I need to quit drinking. And every remedy I had was, okay, where's this magic thing that I can take or have that will allow me to still drink? And having that in my mind was a result of miseducation about how alcoholism works. Right? I didn't understand chemical dependency. I didn't understand that my mind had gotten warped over years and I couldn't see out of my mind, right? And we look at this, it's like depression. You go into the big dark hole, you can't see your way out, and you're wondering, how am I here? Right? How am I here? Well, you got there gradually. Something sad happened, another sad thing. You changed your thought process, you got different loops, and all of a sudden, you're a bumbling mess of depression. And the same thing happens with alcoholism where you don't see it gradually happening. And what needs to happen is you need to be educated. You need someone like me and Terry to come in here and say, this is alcohol. That's what alcohol does. Like it's known. You drink alcohol, you get drunk. You drink it long enough, probably become an alcoholic. And we got to understand these. So Terry, what was it like for you when you were trying everything and you finally understood this is something going on in my mind, and the only thing that's going to fix it is not having alcohol?
Well, I'll tell you, Marcus, when I finally did quit is when I started to realize that it's taking the alcohol off the table completely. Mm-hmm. It took that life-changing event for me before I knew that's what I had to do. And I had to not take anything. Nothing. You know, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of people that call themselves alcoholics, but they may have replaced it with a different drug for a while. And they tried that and they always went back to the alcohol, or they just became co-addicted to something else, or those home remedies. They've tried the home remedies and they didn't work. They all have similar stories as to what Marcus was just talking about, you know, and this stuff, it was difficult. It was just a fight. It was a constant fight for me when I was trying to quit and trying these home remedies, everything but quitting. You know, I did want to quit for quite a few years. There was a part of me that wanted to quit, but there was a bigger part of me that wanted to keep drinking because it gave me that comfort. It was really hard to get out of that comfort. And I knew that, you know, if I was going to quit, I was going to have extreme discomfort for a while. And then, because, you know, I've seen it with people that get sober. It's not real comfortable. It's not fun, especially those first few weeks and maybe even the first few months, sometimes even longer. It's difficult. We don't have that coping mechanism. And I didn't realize that there was other things you can do to be able to cope with no alcohol. And that's, you know, that's some of the things we try to show here in our program is there's other stuff to do to deal with life. And it's called enjoying life, really.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I was drinking, I wasn't enjoying life. But, you know, all these other things I've seen people try, they don't work. I had to take alcohol completely off the table. Once I was able to get it out of my system, I was able to start to see things a little bit more clearly and start to realize that that's what I had to make my priority was not drinking. Sobriety had to be the biggest priority of my life, without question. It had to be. Yeah. And that's what it still is. It still has to be. Once I bring that alcohol back, it's game over. You know, then that old mind is going to come back. And, you know, our letter 29 is the new wine. We talk about a new wine in a new wineskin. And I have a new way of life. That's that new wine, and that new wineskin is my new perspective on life. And it's incredible. The sobriety is awesome. And if that old wine, those old thoughts, those old things start to come back into my life, things, I have to do whatever I can to stay sober and keep that new wine. Otherwise, I may go back to that old thought process.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. And I think it's very crucial and important that when you said, I had to get it out of my system.
yeah,
And what we're talking about there is two things, right? And this is why home remedies, some could be good. There's nothing wrong with some of them. But I mean, if you're sitting on the side of the road and you lost a limb and I handed you, some home remedy. No, you need to go to the doctor. I mean, come on. You got to go there to sew the thing back on or whatever it is. You have to understand that there's two things we're dealing with. One is detox. And the reason a lot of this stuff is dangerous is because it doesn't talk about detox. Melissa says, she's scared of having a seizure.
Yeah.
Terry's probably going to go into that in a little bit because that's a real threat. And that's something that you need to go to the doctor for. Like, you can't horse around, you can't mess around. And then when you go to the doctor, because, obviously going to the doctor is not the cheapest thing on the planet, unless you have good insurance or government insurance or whatever. So what we need to do is we need to make that count. We need to say, look, this is where it landed me. I am here, I am in the hospital, I'm going to detox. Okay, that's the first part of the equation, is getting through the detox. And you should always, without fail, even if you think you're like Marcus and, you're not that bad and you talked him out of the handcuffs and you talked him out of the mental hospital and you're a 0.3 whatever and you're walking around like you're fine. Even if you're like that, because I thought I was fine. I went to the hospital because that's where they took me. I wouldn't have got up and did it on my own. The only times I went to the hospital when I was drunk was when I broke my finger. And one time I had a stomach pain, and my wife was like, "You're fine, go to bed." And I was like, "Damn you, you don't know, it's real, I'm going." $7,000 later, they're like, "Nothing's wrong with you." But, we look at it and it's like, okay, we need to understand that all those times when I broke my finger, all these things were warning signs. And I'm glad I made it through them, because I might not have. And that's what we have to understand about detox, okay? The second thing we need to understand is once the alcohol is out of your system, however long it takes, it's different for each person, for the alcohol to get out of your system in terms of detoxing, getting it out and getting everything physically out of your system. I think, don't quote me, I'm not a doctor, I think it's like 7 days is about the longest. Terry, what have you read?
You're right. You're right in the ballpark, definitely.
Okay. And of course, rule of thumb, could be 2 weeks. I don't know. It depends
Yeah.
on each person, how much you drink, all that. And so once you get that out, really all you're left with is the mental battle. That's it. That's it. Like, your body and your physical cravings are gone. Now it's all just mental cravings. And that's what we talk about, is learning how to deal with those. And the thing that people don't realize is alcoholism is a maladaptive behavior. It is a maladaptive behavior where we are trying to solve our life problems by running from them through alcohol. So if you take alcohol off the table, or you take some magic thing that's not going to make you crave anymore, now you're stuck with all your shit. Right? This is why, a lot of alcoholics and people go to therapy and things like that. Now you're stuck with all this shit. Now, what you have to understand is, first and foremost, detox is out of the way. When you do that in a doctor, you should always do that with a doctor, hospital, whatever. Even a rehab, a lot of them, they'll help you with that. Just make sure they do. And then you're dealing with the mental stuff and the physical things. And what's going to happen is you start to understand that a lot of the crap that you have in your life that you were drinking over was made by drinking. And you understand that it's this big circle jerk of hell that your brain makes for your brain. And then once you get sober for 90 days or so, you start to see it changing. And what we do is we talk about what to do with the mental stuff, because you're still going to have cravings once in a while. still be there. You're still going to have a bad day. You're still not going to know how to deal with some things. And that's what we really focus on. And I want to talk to you before Terry goes into that. I want to talk to you about the stuff that we've put together for you for dealing with the mental part. If you go over to talksober.com, you can click this big yellow button here. Okay? Once you click that button, you'll go to the sign up page. This not only gives you the course materials, but it also supports what we're doing here on this channel, because right now we fund a lot of this channel out of our own pockets. And so you could go here, you could sign up for this. You'll get instant access to the letters Terry was talking about earlier, which look like this. So you'll watch a video, you'll get the letters, the contracts, and everything like that for yourself. They're just little contracts of, oh, I'm not going to drink. And you can give them to a friend or a sponsor or whatever. And then we go through the 30 letters, which has a letter. So you'll go in, you'll read the letter, which will talk about the mental battle that we deal with as alcoholics. We'll talk about feelings. We'll talk about changing your perspective on life, because this is all about changing your perspective and your life philosophy. Because if you have a flawed life philosophy, it's going to make you want to drink. It did for me, right? So we're going to look at that, and you go through each day. You'll read the letter. You just click the letter. You'll read the letter. You'll watch the video, the exercise about the letter, and you'll go through it every day for 30 days, and it'll start to help you understand what's going on in your mind, in your body, and why these things are difficult, right? And that's over at talksober.com. Just click the yellow button, and you can get that. So, Terry, I think we were going into, the detox and the seizures and all that stuff.
Okay. I can tell my story about that.
Okay.
Let me give you a little bit of history about, I'm not going to go into it real deep, but I'd mentioned I wanted to quit for quite a while. And it was affecting my life. That I like to drink. And I'll tell you one thing, I liked drinking until the very last day I drank. I enjoyed the feeling that it gave me. I did not like the consequences that were occurring because of it. And that's what eventually helped push me to stop drinking, was the consequences, not just the physical consequences, but what I was doing to my life, and just that selfishness that comes along with drinking, and the fact that all I wanted to do was drink and not take care of other things and other people in life. I went to a doctor actually a few years before I quit, and they gave me some detox meds. They said, you better take these and you better start going to meetings. And I went to a couple meetings, arms crossed, didn't talk to anybody, took the detox meds, ended up drinking again, 3-4 weeks after. And then, I tried to stop for to keep the marriage together. And that didn't do it for me. I kept drinking. And I'd always try to do the cutting down and stuff like that here and there, and try quitting for a length of time. I was never able to quit for more than half a day or maybe a day. I don't know, but I was never able to get any length of time in. And, things just kept getting worse and worse. And finally I did make a decision. And, here's the hard part about the mental aspect of it is making that decision that was a decision to go to rehab. And I was so afraid to do that because, first of all, if I tell other people that I have to go to rehab, that means I got to quit. And I got to quit the one thing in my life that's, making me feel good. So that's tough. I don't blame anybody for making that decision difficult. It's tough to give up the one thing that's giving you comfort. But I knew I had to do it because I knew I wasn't going to survive. And eventually I made that decision, and that was by telling people that I loved and that loved me, that I needed help. And so that meant admitting to everybody. And then, then there's the fear of, oh man, what if I start drinking again? They're going to judge me, and there's all that fear. But I went to rehab. And I got sober for 30 days and came out, and I started drinking again fairly soon after, because I didn't work on that mental stuff that our program talks about. I didn't start working on that when I got out. I worked on it while I was there. I played the game that they told us that we needed to play. That's how I looked at it. It is a game. Just got to make them happy, make them think I'm doing what they want me to do. I got out and I started drinking again. I was right back. Actually, I was drinking heavier. Drank for about a month, and just life, my body, everything just started to collapse, and I quit. But I wasn't going to pay the money for rehab again. I just quit. And this is where the seizures can be scary. Had some people come over. They were actually doctors. They said, you need to go to the hospital. Went to the hospital. I seized there, and multiple grand mal seizures. They held me down. I was fighting 6 male nurses, and they could barely hold me down. When I finally woke up 2 weeks later, all my muscles were still sore from fighting because I just fought beyond my strength, And, that's the scary stuff. It almost killed me, but I happened to be in the hospital, so they were able to stabilize me and get me through it. And, when I woke up, one thing about being unconscious for 2 weeks is you don't feel the withdrawal symptoms. But I woke up and I was detoxed. But I was a blur. I was a mess. It takes a long time to get better from something that severe. And that's what we're trying to help you guys avoid, is getting to that severe state. Because it took me months before I was physically better. And it took, even longer. I think I'm still working on my mind, but things are definitely a lot better nowadays. But, the seizures are dangerous, and they almost killed me. I have a friend that's had a friend that he went through a similar thing as me. And then it was scary because then I wouldn't see him for a month or so, and he'd come back and I started drinking again. It's like, really? After you went through what I went through, how could you start again? That's this disease. He didn't keep working on things. I don't know. I don't have the answer as to why he started drinking again, but it eventually killed him. That's the reality of this disease. It's scary stuff. It can kill you. And the withdrawal can kill you. The alcohol can kill you. There's so many different ways. But if we stay sober, then we got a much better chance. And that's what I try to lean on, is staying sober. And staying sober is my top priority. And that's what I do.
Absolutely. And I think, I didn't realize the blessing that life could be sober. I didn't realize it because alcohol had warped my brain. It warped the way that I thought. It took the thought life that I had before I started drinking, and it made it like times 1,000. So if I was worried about something and I drank, I'd worry way more. If I was anxious and I drank, anxiety would go away for a couple hours, and then I'd wake up with OCD, racing thoughts, anxiety, craziness. And I didn't realize, for some reason, we have this built-in blinder, and it makes us unable to realize that alcohol is causing this. Like Laurel says, I've always used alcohol to cope with everything. Exactly. But what we don't realize is coping's not really that hard. So we look at it, and for me, okay, I'll give you a little insight. I was the kind of kid that was always tough, right? I think I talked about this on an earlier show. And I was always tough. I'd get, punished by my parents, and I was tough. It didn't hurt. I would have this happen. I was tough. I'd fall off my skateboard. I was tough. I didn't cry. And, 40 years later as an adult, still pretty much the same way. And when I drank, it was a whole different story. And I realized that I was avoiding emotions instead of just feeling them. So what if I'm sad? Just be sad. It's not going to kill you. Drinking probably will if you keep drinking, but being sad's not gonna hurt you. Grieving loss, being frustrated, being angry. It's okay to be angry sometimes. Now, do you have to flip out and throw things like I did? I can't even tell you how many expensive electronics I broke because I was angry. And that was something I learned even before sobriety. Why? Because I always thought that everything was absolutely true. This guy pissed me off. I need to get mad. I need to throw things. This is how I deal. And what I didn't realize is that I was trained to be that way. I watched other people do it. Alcohol made my emotions even worse. This is why, you go to the bar and some guy says, "Oh, hey, your voice is funny," and your brain hears, "I want to get in a fight with you," and you start getting in a fight over something completely silly because alcohol screws with your emotions, and it makes you unable to deal with things, and it makes you rash in certain areas where you normally wouldn't be. Now I find, right now we're dealing with an issue where, there's a family issue, and someone's just blatantly ripping off the family. And I'm like, okay, in the old days, I would have flipped out. Now I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not a lawyer. The lawyers are smarter. They can handle it. Whatever the outcome is what the outcome is. Before, I would have gotten pissed. I would have called people. I would have made it worse. I would have flipped out. I would have been drunk. And now I'm like, hey, it is, I deal with what I could deal with the way I do, and that's what you do. And that's what you do. And, when people get angry or certain things happen, or like now my dad's dealing with a cancer diagnosis that's pretty rough. Like, I'm looking at it like, okay, how long do we have? What's going on? If I was drunk, I wouldn't be able to be here for my dad. If I was drunk, I couldn't hop on a plane and go see him whenever I want. If I was drunk, I probably wouldn't call him. If I was drunk, I probably would just be an ass. And so when we look at it as I use alcohol to cope with all these things, I want you to ask yourself, am I really? Am I really coping? Is this what coping is, like being the drunk? Or is there more to what life can be? And we miss out on the blessing that sobriety could give us because we don't see a way out. Alcohol is like, hey, I made you this prison, and it's really safe. And you hate the prison, but it's safe. I will protect you. Out there's all this bad stuff. Sit in this prison of alcoholism. And you sit there wondering what life's out like on the outside. And you don't realize that alcohol's been lying to you the entire time. It's like a captor. It's like a captor who says, you know what? I'm going to keep you safe. Don't go anywhere. Don't do this. Yeah, I'm going to abuse you. I'm going to be mean to you sometimes. But I'm going to keep you safe. So the poor person keeps staying. And keeps staying. And they get free and they go back. Happens all the time. Why? Because their mind has been warped. I think in the terms of abuse victims, it's called grooming, where the abuser actually grooms the person's brain to be the way that they are so that they will keep being under the abuse. And it's like the saddest thing in the world. It's like, okay, if I ever get angry and want to rough someone up, that would be the reason, right? But alcohol does the same thing. But we don't rough it up because it comes in a pretty little bottle, and the commercials tell us life is so much fun with alcohol. And for some people, maybe it is. Unfortunately for me, it had a couple fun times, but it also ended in falling on my head in Las Vegas. It also ended in falling off the curb and busting up my knee. Ended in a broken finger. Ended in mental hospital. Ended by almost ending my life. This is fun? Is it? Or are you in the prison that alcohol created? And you look at home remedies and it's like, okay, what the home remedy is going to do is it's going to give you a little blankie for your prison. You'll be like, I'm a little warm, feel a little better. But you're not dealing with the issue. Because here's the secret. The prison door is not locked. It's not locked. You can come and go as you please. Unfortunately, for some, abuse victims, theirs is locked, and, hopefully something good happens out of that, or they get out of it, or whatever. But with alcoholism, the door is not locked. But you have to realize what's going on. You have to turn around and say, this prison was built by alcohol. It's all an illusion. I need to go to the doctor and detox, and I need to figure out a way out of it. And I didn't see this. People there's so much better life on sobriety. I've been sober for 30 years. Guy in the back of the room telling me his story. And I'm like, bullshit, dude. My life, you don't understand what my life is like. You don't get it. Clearly you don't get it, or you wouldn't be all puffed up and happy in the back of the room. And he was trying to tell me, dude, prison's not real. It's not real. Put the bottle down. Get the help. Deal with the mind stuff. And you'll find out it was not real. Wasn't real. The alcohol is real. The deadliness of alcohol is real. That's why you got to go to a doctor. But the mental prison it created is not.
Well said. I have to, what I have to always remember that I am responsible for my own sobriety. A lot of you are commenting about some sports events that are coming up, and that's a real trigger. Some others were talking about the healthcare system and all that, and how it's free in some places and not in others, and things like that. I only know what our healthcare system is. It works for me. It worked for me. It got me through what I needed to get through. One thing with my sobriety is that I have to remember now when I got sober, I had to put all my reliance on help. I had to put everything, all my cards onto their table, definitely. But at the same time, I was still responsible for my sobriety. I had to do things. And at that point, when I was that sick, I wasn't able to do a whole lot for myself. But, when I woke up, I started to do things. I had to walk the walk. There were certain things I had to do. There were certain things I had to not do. The biggest one of not doing was not drink. But there was other things I had to do. I had to reach out to other sober alcoholics. I had to not go hang out with people that are drinking. I had to start to do sober activities, start to figure out other things I can do throughout the day during that time where I would just spend drinking, go on hikes, things like that. And I had to make sure that yes, those triggering events that I still wanted to enjoy and participate in weren't triggering for me. So what did I do? I like concerts. There's a band that I love to see, and that band's all about drugs and alcohol, And I went and saw them, and I enjoyed it sober. I wasn't sure if I would, but I did, And I had no problems there. It was okay, but I made sure I was safe. I made sure I had a plan. I had to do the walk, or I had to walk the walk. I had to make sure I was going, and that sobriety was that top priority. As far as the healthcare system, I had to do what I thought was right. I went to those hospital outpatient groups when I first got sober, and I went there as long as I felt it was helping me. And that was a while. I went for quite a while.
Let me chime in on the hospital healthcare industry thing. First of all, yes, it is true. For the vast majority of people that have to pay their own health insurance and stuff like that in America, it is a crappy system. Does need change, absolutely. With that said, there are caveats to protect people that need help. So there are caveats there where it's like, hey, if you go to the doctor and you need life-saving help for detox or something like that, and they bill you, don't freak out. Call them. Right? Because you can call them and be like, hey, you know what? This is what I got. What do you want me to do? And it'll get figured out somehow. It'll get written off a balance sheet or whatever. They will figure something out with you. So don't let the fear of money stop you from getting help if you need it, which a lot of people do for detox. That's the first thing. And also understand how it works, because, there are ways to deal with it. There are ways. Don't let money stop you from what could be life-saving treatment. And I think hospitals have to charge you what you're able to pay. So if it's like $1 a month for the rest of your life, you can work something out with them. So don't let that be a big thing. Also, where was I going to go? There was an also. I had an also,
Well, one also is the price of drinking.
That was the one, yeah.
And my drinking, I drank cheap vodka, so the actual price it really wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. But the price of all the other stuff that I wasted money on and that I didn't take care of and things like that, rundown house, all that stuff. Oh, incredible how much money I spend. I look back on that. That's what I shake my head about now. Is oh my God, I wasted so much money on this stuff. And yeah, so.
I would say the same thing. Like if you were to look at the bills that it would cost for like ER visit or whatever, they're nothing in comparison to what I spent drinking. Because I think about it, and I'll go to dinner with my family, and it's $60 or $80 or whatever. And when I drank, I mean that was like 150, 180 easy, because I'd have 6 or 8 beers, and they're about $10 a pop. I go to the ball game, and it'd be $200 in beers or whatever it was. I'd go to the bar, and who knows how much I spent. I remember one time I was at a hotel meeting that I put on for my business, and our bar tab was more than the hotel room, and the hotel room was $1,000 a night. And it was just like, holy crap! How did we spend $5,000 on alcohol over the course of 3 days? How does that even work? And I like that I don't need to do that anymore. I don't have to. And half the time, if you go to a place, like I'll go to hotel meetings or whatever, and I'll ask for a Coke at the bar, they'll be like, dude, don't worry about it. And I'll give them $1 tip or something because he didn't charge me for it. But the amount you save is absolutely astonishing. And if we look at that and we focus on what we need, take care of yourself first, because, if we're not here, that's the big worry. And then we got to deal with our mind and what we're going to do to get sober and how we're going to deal with this stuff.
Yes. How you started playing golf with other alcoholics. What's that?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
I coughed.
Al says I started playing golf with other alcoholics. I suck at it, but it beats being drunk at 8 a.m. Yeah, absolutely. Golf, geez, 4 hours for a round, 4.5 hours for a round. Your total time 6-7 hours. It's a good way to keep yourself occupied, be out in the beautiful weather, get some of that vitamin D, and get a little bit of exercise. Even if you're in a car, at least you're walking a little bit. So yeah, it's a good way to spend that time.
Absolutely.
I don't want to tell you what band.
Just watch the previous streams.
Preface it by this: I have a '60s and '70s mind at heart. The band I love is the Grateful Dead.
It's funny too, because when you are thinking to get sober, you think all those things are going to be taken away from you. Oh, I can't go to the Dead anymore, and it's like, yeah, you can. Totally can. It's actually better. You're like, hey, I actually see the people on stage now. That's pretty cool. And the money you save on drinking and stuff, you could get a front row seat. That's always good.
Yeah. Now you can never get front row seats anymore. All the ticket bots buy them all, and then if you want that front row seat, you got to pay 3 times the price. It's very frustrating.
Ben says, I feel like the ER really isn't prepped for alcohol visitors. You lay in a room monitored till sober and then sent home. It's dumb. Well, the key there is monitored. That's why you go, because they're going to monitor you so that something bad doesn't happen. And that's worth it, because I don't know what to watch out for. I don't know what to deal with. And we have to understand how that works. And there are places you could detox that are like professional rehab detox places you can go to too.
What happens a lot in the county I live in is you end up going to the ER, and they might or might not, but you can definitely take care of it, get you into a detox center. There is a county detox center that actually now they take people up to 90 days, but it's mainly meant for that 5 to 7 day detox period. So that's a direction that a lot of people go.
Absolutely. And then for the mind stuff, we'll do our fancy Talk Sober commercial again. You can get all the mind help stuff that we've put together for you. Again, remember, Terry and I are not doctors. This is just what's worked for us. These are the mindset things that I went through and he went through to learn how to get and stay sober. You could go over to talksober.com, click the big yellow button. It'll take you here to sign up. You'll get instant logins that will take you to the letters, the videos, the audios, all kinds of stuff to help you get and stay sober. All kinds of stuff dealing with the mindset and how to get sober. You just click each day. It'll take you to a video, the day. all kinds of stuff. It's actually really cool, and it'll go through and walk you through all of that. It's really well thought out. I've gone through it for over 5 years. I've been working on the program. Terry's been working very closely with me to really work on like, hey, what did we go through, and what do we wish someone had for us when we were trying to go through this? And that's what we put together. Someone also asked in the comments the other day, what do you get with the private sobriety call? You get a 1 hour call with Terry and me where you could talk about anything, sobriety, life, whatever you want. That's a one-time thing. If you don't want like a monthly thing, you just get one call. We show up, you show up, we talk sobriety. It supports the channel. You get some insight into what's going on, or you could share your personal story or whatever it is. So really cool. And that's over at talksober.com.
Baza says they look at you like a moron when you go to the hospital for alcohol. Embarrassing for me, but better than dying from withdrawals. Yeah, that was another thing that kept me from getting sober, was the perception that I was going to be judged as some sort of moron or loser or whatever. And it was a perception. And really, whether they are actually thinking that or not, that's one of those things I'm not in control of.
Well, and when you go there, you're drunk. So that's a drunk perception at best.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was drunk and I was like, oh, they're looking at me. No one looks at you. No one, they're probably looking at you. Why are you up walking around with a bunch of shit hooked up to you? What's the matter with you? That's probably what they're looking at, because it's like, hey, sit down. You're drunk. Sit there. Do your thing. But yeah, I found that there was really no judgment. Even when the cops took me out of my house, they were very kind. I had an issue with the fire department when I had an office, and they were very kind. Very kind. Talked me through stuff. And, it's not, I'm sure there's some bad apples in everywhere, but, doctors and the people that's their job, is to take care of you. And, you're probably never going to see them again. Knock on wood. Hopefully, if you stay sober, you won't see them again. At least not for a while. And, who cares? Someone thinks this of me, I'm taking care of myself. This is what I'm doing. A lot of people, they think alcoholics are quitters. You go to this meeting or you do this, you're a quitter. You can't handle your liquor. No, I just decide not to. I can handle it just good. I, talked myself out of a mental hospital when I was 500 sheets to the wind. So I handle it pretty good, right? The problem is how I handle it. That's the problem. And everyone can think what they want about it. I choose to be sober because I know what it does to me, and it's about me. My stuff is about me, so I'm going to take care of that.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things for me to get over is worrying about what other people are thinking, and that's what I have to do as far as my sobriety goes. That's for sure. I don't care what they think. Don't care if they want me to have a drink because they are. It just doesn't matter. I'm not gonna, and I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to stay sober. So that's important.
And truth be told, people don't think about you nearly as much as you think they do.
Exactly.
Like no one's stewing.
Yeah.
No one cares.
JF says, any tips on staying sober in the early days? Lots of tips. Stay connected. Try to keep busy. Don't drink. I mean, that's the obvious one. But really, that you have to remember that. It's don't drink no matter what. Even if your ass is going to fall off, as people say, as we say. If you get that craving, wait 15 minutes. Do something else during that 15 minutes. Try not to isolate. Reach out to friends. Try and get connected with some other sober alcoholics, whether it's meetings or on our Facebook group or whatever. Try to reach out when you're just starting to feel a little uneasy. But stay out of those dangerous places. Don't go meet your friends at the bar. Don't go to the party you were invited to. In those early days, I'm not saying you have to not do that ever. You can do it eventually, but in those early days, you don't know what's going to trigger you. I didn't. I really slowly started doing things, and there's stuff I still don't want to do. I still don't go hang out at bars with friends. But, most of my friends nowadays are sober. Kind of switched them around a little bit. People... Go ahead. That's all right.
I was going to say, I would also check out the Talk Sober program.
Yep.
It'll help you with the mindset stuff of staying sober, which I think is really important. And there's a few things that you can take away from that program that'll help you with that. And that's at talksober.com.
Yeah, definitely.
There was an interesting one. Sorry, I think I might have cut you off. Did you?
No, you're good.
Okay. It's
All
hard to
right.
tell because sometimes Terry can see me on his screen and sometimes he can't. So, like, when I'm like, hey, wait, he can't see, so it seems like I'm
I
interrupting.
can't
But
see you
I
today.
could try my best. Yeah, he can't see me today. Um,
I didn't see
Alone
you.
in Another World says, yep, I hate that type of sober people when I was drunk, and I hate their judge eyes. And he put the eyes. I'm going to bring something up important about this that'll change the way you think about how people think of you. I guarantee you, I'd be willing to make a bet, metaphorically, that if I had a lineup of pictures and there was judge eyes, sad eyes, happy eyes, angry eyes, all different kinds of eyes, I'll bet you couldn't tell the difference between judge eyes and a different one. I'd be willing to bet. Like, I'd be willing to bet if you went up to that person that you think had judge eyes, they're probably not thinking about you at all. Probably not, 9 times out of 10. Usually what happens is the perception that everyone's judging us comes from the fact that we ourselves judge other people. Like, super judgmental people are afraid people are judging them. Thieves are afraid people are going to steal from them. Angry people are afraid everyone's angry. It's a perception thing. And if we look at that and we really take it to heart, it's like no one cares. No one cares. I remember when I got sober, I thought my business was going to be over and people were going to shun me. I got the most comments on a video the day I told people I was going to rehab. People were like, "Hey, good, we're rooting for you. Go get them." And to let what I think other people think about my alcoholism stop me from getting sober is silly because I'm just thinking about what I think other people think. Like it's twice removed, right? It's like it's not even you didn't even know what's in their brain, and here you are drunk because you think you know what's in their brain.
Yes. Where was it? Somebody was asking, oh, what are some of the symptoms that were so bad that you had to be hospitalized? And there's lots of symptoms that can happen, and many of them are life-threatening. For me, racing heart, sweating, nausea. I don't think I was vomiting, but shaking, severe shaking. Sometimes hallucinations can happen. That happened with me. That's why I was fighting when I was in the hospital. What other ones? Heavy breathing. These are all things from just the basic things that help keep you alive. These are symptoms that alcohol withdrawal can affect. I mean, just one drink will affect every cell in your body. Not necessarily negatively. For me, it will because I'm an alcoholic, but a normal person. Alcohol affects everything. But other withdrawal symptoms, you can't think clearly. And that's one of the hard things is you start to go through withdrawal and you can't think clearly. Let me have a drink. And then all of a sudden you feel like you're thinking better. Are you really? I don't know. But yeah. What are some of the other ones, Marcus? That I'm not
I would say any symptom that makes you worry beyond normal, like, oh, my foot's itchy, anything that's out of the norm, I would go to the doctor for. At least call a doctor, very bare minimum, get on the phone and be like, hey, I got this, what should I do? And I would watch out for those delusions. When I was detoxing, I had a lot of delusions. I had a lot of stress. Heart palpitations was a big one. Insomnia. A lot of people downplay the fact that an alcoholic never sleeps properly. And I know from being sober that sleep's a big deal. I didn't sleep good last night, and I feel like crap today. I'm behind on my work. I just can't get going. And that's like 0.1% of what I used to have when I drank. I literally woke up feeling like I had some flu condition with mental stuff. I mean, it was like having a disorder or an illness or whatever, because it is an illness. But it was affecting me in a way that I didn't pay attention to. And I think there's studies that say if you stay up for long enough, you will go insane, which that contributes to alcoholic insanity. Like everything adds up. It all adds up, and you got to look at it like a court case and be like, okay, alcohol causes this. Alcohol causes this. It causes this. Verdict, alcohol's guilty of causing this stuff in my life. Now, is it my choice? Yes, I go and get the drink. Alcohol doesn't by itself and put itself in my mouth. It doesn't do it. I do it. But I do it because I'm under the influence. That's why they call it that, right? You think about that word and just under the influence and whatever, usually pertaining to driving, which you should never drink and drive. The reason people drink and drive is because they are under the influence, so they think they're doing okay, right? They're walking sideways and they're like, I'm fine, bro. I'm good. And it's like, no, you're not good. And for the alcoholic, you haven't been good for a while. This has tainted your brain. It's messed with the way you think, and you really can't see your way out because it blinds you. It's pretty, well, the video already got shut off for monetization, so it's pretty fucked up, right? So you got to look at that and understand it. But yeah, you got to understand what's going on. Okay. Any other comments stand out to you?
Yeah, lots of great comments. Neighbor says I got used to feeling bad all the time, that when I felt normal, it gave me anxiety. I hear you. Yeah, that was a weird feeling when I was starting to when I'd sober up for a day or something, and then all those thoughts would come back, and learning how to deal with those thoughts when I finally did get sober, that was one of the keys to my sobriety. It still is knowing how to deal with some of the thoughts, whether they're positive or negative, and just how knowing how to process them and respond to situations rather than react in a negative way is very helpful.
Absolutely. All right. 90 days today, and sleep is just starting to happen routinely. It took that long. Good. Yeah, you got to take it in stride. The first 90 days for me, I was sluggish. I was getting going, and I was okay with it.
Coffee Man says alcohol withdrawal can kill, but heroin withdrawal won't. ND alcohol is legal crazy. Yes.
And disclaimer, yeah. I don't know if heroin withdrawal is deadly. I think it can be. So if you're detoxing from anything, go to the doctor, because they know more than two dudes on YouTube. That's for sure.
I've seen the withdrawal of many different drugs as far as people when they go through it, and none of it's any fun. I do know that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that also doesn't put into place the effects of the drug. So, like, there's what happens with detox in your body, which can be very difficult, and, go to the doctor. But then there's also what you do when you're drunk. And it's like, okay, well, I'm detoxing, I'm still drunk, and I'm still on this thing, or I'm still doing this. That still has effects, right? So you got to look at that.
Yeah.
Never heard of a salt lamp. This is a salt lamp.
On dim, helps me sleep, calms me down. Okay.
Maybe I've been using pepper lamps. I don't know.
Very nice.
Laurel, I see you joined the course. Good to have you in there.
And Laurel, it's good. I know you're having a difficult time right now, and it's good to see you here. And keep doing that. I see you post sometimes on Facebook. Keep reaching out there.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm only like 7 days sober. I'm fine now. Well, we all know the acronym for fine, and it usually doesn't mean fine. I'm 7 years sober, and I try to do what I can do. Can I say I'm fine? No, I'm not fine to go drink. I'm not fine with some things. I don't know if I'm ready to deal with certain things, so I just gotta, figure it out. And I think the key is just to have a zero-sum thought game. Like I don't know what this will bring. You know, because we go through like, oh no, when I stop drinking, my life is going to be terrible. Well, you don't know. I didn't know. I was wrong. I thought my life was going to be terrible. I thought
Yeah,
without drinking it'd be terrible.
me too. I do know that I'm fine right now. I'm doing good
Hmm.
right now. Everything's okay. Is it going to be tomorrow? Hope
Hope
so.
so. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I think we are about out of time. Again, if you guys want to support what we're doing, go on over to talksober.com, join the course, and we really want to build that up. So the more people we get in there, the more we can build it up and start offering private calls and things like that, and really focus on what's going on. You can go to talksober.com, feel good about supporting the show, and get all these cool tools and stuff about how to get and stay sober. You can do a private call with us. There's all kinds of tools over at Talk Sober. We're building it out all the time. Actually doing a redesign as soon as I get a minute, which I haven't had a minute lately, but I'm trying. And you can go there, click that, fill this out. You can also join our Facebook group and everything like that to help you guys understand what this is like and how to deal with alcoholism. So thanks for being here. Subscribe, click the bell, and we'll see you guys next week.